So, Movie Talks. We are here to bring you all your movie news, and we appreciate everyone who stopped by on episode one. I'm your host, Ryman, and my co host.
Lawson, how's it going, everyone?
There we go. We got there the second delay,
Yeah, that
but
was sick.
we're bringing you three picks. We actually have a new segment this week where I've picked a movie, Lawson's picked a movie, and then we obviously share our thoughts on House of Dragons, which is obviously the big new hit, and we'll delve into that later. But everyone who stopped by last episode, please, if you got any feedback, make sure you let us know. You can hit me up on any of the socials or just jump into the Twitch chat on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7:45 Australian Central Standard Time, and let us know there. You'll see Lawson in there. He's one of the mods. But
I'll
as we
jump in
get
too and say at the end, we've also picked our movies and shows in advance. So if you want to watch what we watch and join in on the conversation, or at least then know what we're talking about or have an opinion, stick around.
what a plug. What a plug. But starting off, I knew this one was probably going to really irritate Lawson, so I picked the fantastic movie Me Time, which is Netflix original film, and it is starring Kevin Hart. So Kevin Hart is playing Kevin Hart, but it also, I guess, co-stars or like semi-stars Mark Wahlberg as well. He's on the poster, but I wouldn't actually say he's like one of the star. I would say,
Yeah,
yeah,
the
co-star.
B character. Yeah.
Yeah. But essentially, Kevin Hart is a dad who really his life revolves around his kids and he is the glue of the family. And for once in a very long time, his wife is kind of like, I'm going to take the kids away and give you your own me time, which is a very simple premise in terms of a setup of a film. Like, obviously, Netflix and Kevin Hart seem to have this like duo or like a partnership. I'm not sure if they've signed like a secret agreement, but like Kevin Hart plays Kevin Hart in every single film, and every Netflix film they want a basic storyline where Kevin Hart goes off and does his like comic timing. Where just for the comedy, I found the comedy really awkward, but the delivery of Kevin Hart kind of saved it. And I should go back because I'm all over the place here. But
No, we're good.
in terms of the story, obviously Kevin is going about his day-to-day life, and it looked like the characters were having fun in terms of when he's at his like parent group meeting at like running a
Mm.
talent show. And I liked how the vibe of all those, I guess, stay-at-home parents, they were all kind of quirky, but they all seemed to actually were bouncing a little bit off each other. I'm not sure if it was like a planned script or they just sort of like
Yeah,
went
like
off
ad
script.
libs.
Yeah, like it
Yeah,
for me, I enjoyed that kind of part of it
yeah,
where,
I'll give you that.
yeah, and
That
then
ginger guy, whatever his name was.
yeah,
I can't
he
remember,
was good.
but he was probably the best character.
And like things
Please
obviously
continue.
escalate when Mark Wahlberg's character comes onto the scene, and you can see that right from the start. Like that wingsuit scene, like right at the start, where they've been
Yeah.
celebrating their birthdays, where I feel like they were paying either Mark Wahlberg or Kevin Hart far too much money because they did not spend money on the CGI. The CGI was horrible. Like
Yeah.
they set up the CGI in terms of when he falls off the cliff in that wingsuit, like that.
Yeah.
That was shocking.
Um, at, at that point, I don't know. I didn't expect good, great CGI anyway. So I don't know. It didn't phase me.
But
There's
when
there's worse for the movie.
you've you've set up a whole scene and you're like, let's go, we're on a wingsuit, and you've shot him off by the wind of the helicopter,
Helicopter. Yeah.
and they're like, all right, this is the opening scene of the movie. Like, wouldn't you do something different to set up like uh, the
It was
tone
so
of the film?
cheesy. It did set up the tone. It set up this cheesy bullshit story. And I'll be with you forever, man. Oh, I don't know.
Ah,
As soon as that first scene hit me, I was like, I'm in for a ride here.
and I knew it was going to be. But
Yeah.
I did giggle at a lot of parts. Like the
Yeah.
CGI, I think was intentionally. It was either intentionally bad or it was just one of those things that all adds up to the like, good comedy aspect.
Yeah, they didn't care. Yeah.
Like that
It didn't need
mountain,
to be good.
the mountain lion. Oh, I lost it.
Oh,
He's
really?
the portaloo, where he's carrying the bucket of the portaloo, and he's got
Mm.
there's a baby like mountain lion. Like, why
Yeah.
would you pat it? And he's like,
And then he yeets it.
he's so
He just
cute. Ah!
throws
He
it.
just
Get
legs it.
out of here. Yeah, I laughed at my favorite probably scene, I guess, is when they go to I can't remember any of the characters' names. I didn't care enough. But when they went to like the attractive hippie guy, his house, and they started like doing things in his house. Remind me of the scene in Horrible Bosses where they go to their boss's house and just fuck with shit, like putting toothbrushes in their assholes and shit. So like I like that scene and stealing all his left shoes. That's hilarious. I got a really good giggle out of that.
And like the little turd on the bed is like, is that a chocolate
Yeah.
mint?
I'm proud that I could do it on cue or whatever he said. Like, yeah, there were moments where I giggled.
Like,
I don't know. I can't relate with the whole what he was saying before about Kevin Hart playing himself because I haven't watched a lot of Kevin Hart. So, but yes, he felt like the interviews I've seen with him and The Rock and stuff. He felt like him exactly.
Yeah, like even from like Man of Toronto, like he played almost the identical character in terms of his like out of depth kind of fish out of water sort of character.
Yeah, he does
And
that well.
yeah, and that's what he does. And like people are going to obviously tune in because he is Kevin Hart and like he's been around forever. But in terms of like the building up the story, like it was very, very simple. And I found it quite relatable in terms of all of a sudden you get given like this freedom. So like when my wife takes the kids out and you're like, yes, free time. But then you're like, oh God, what do I do with all this time? Like it's such a weird feeling. And I laugh. He's like set himself up and he's like vintage porn.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
I know all things and putting it on like that's a pretty real thing too. Like putting it on the Chromecast and like surely you would have waited another like half an hour to make sure the coast is clear before you commit to something like that. But yeah, that was funny
and
and that
like
was like real, I guess, in terms of the humor.
the throwback to what was it, Tom Cruise one where he slides out? Was it Risky Business in his socks?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Like, it was nice little bits here and there.
yeah,
But I found Mark Wahlberg and Kevin Hart's character very similar in terms of they both escalated scenes where
yeah.
normally they have like a one person who's a little bit calmer, say like
Mhm.
a buddy cop where you'd have, I don't know, let's throw back to episode 1 for everyone that was listening. But Day Shift, you've got obviously Jamie Foxx and Dave Franco, where
Mhm.
Dave Franco always escalated things with his like
Yeah,
just
and then you've got the
out of
straight edge
water.
guy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
to
yeah.
like to balance it out, but they both just escalated everything.
Mm.
I was like, where's this going to go, to the point where it was like just kept escalating. And then it was like, all right, this is just getting far too out of hand.
Yeah, there's a point where they felt like the same character
Yeah.
before like Kevin Hart had his whole character change at the end where he realized that he shouldn't have done what he did and blah blah blah. Like until he had that, epiphany moment, they felt the same and there wasn't I don't know, that middle chunk was the most boring part of the movie because it was just I don't know, they just kept throwing things at you and the characters felt like they weren't doing anything and like in my notes I wrote bored like 8 times toward the middle. But it ended better. Like the second half earned an extra half a star on its own. The whole seal moment with like him doing the song and with Kevin like what does he say? We're gonna get crazy or whatever. Like an extra half a star for seal alone, So it got better. It grew
And
on
he
me
was
more.
like, he did me a favor. He's like, here's your check. That's
Yeah,
not a
right.
favor.
Here's the favor. It's only $12,000. Like, yeah. Anyway,
So
but the
like
pacing, like I said, the pacing was so off, and it was a mess.
the pacing just kept rising. Like
Yeah,
there wasn't even, I wouldn't even call it like a 3 arc structure. It was like Act 1, Act 3. There was
yeah,
nothing. It was just, you just extended every single scene to the maximum that you could. And like, what was with the tortoise? Like, there was that whole setup where they
yeah.
ran into the turtle, but the tortoise, turtle, whatever it is, I don't know exactly what the difference is, but that was like in their house right at the start where he kept stepping on like the turtle or the tortoise poo. But then later on, they stole it from the rich dude. Like, were they house or turtle sitting?
Yeah, I thought that was going to be the payoff. It's actually your tortoise. But no, they just sort of they joked about the fact they had the same tortoise. It felt real bizarre, like almost funny for the sake of funny. Like they just sort of throw it in, just trying to get an easy gag.
And then and then like this whole subplot of the boss and the wife in terms of like him having the love interest and taking the wife away. Like it wasn't really delved into much. He was like, the bloke randomly flew a plane to the wife, and it was like, come look at this island. And then Kevin Hart rocked up to his house and was like, oh, you've got a girlfriend there.
There's a whole chunk missing. I agree. I was waiting for a scene of them going there and talking about the inspiration, the ideas they had, and showing, because the one thing that I guess didn't come across, and maybe because it's from Kevin Hart's perspective, but the fact that he's only interested in her because she's the greatest architect in the world, and that being said to us, we're like, oh, is she? Like I thought she was just some, she's a breadwinner. She's obviously doing well, but I thought she was just an architect. So they didn't actually, like, I would have loved a scene on the island with that guy, even just 3 minutes of the kids running around, them going, wow, look at this and think of this and do this. Like, just show us that she's a good architect instead of just, oh, she's the best architect in the world. Like, it meant nothing.
Yeah. In terms of the closing scene, I thought that was pretty funny with like the mum writing the erotic novel and the dad's like, I lived it.
Yeah. I like that. Actually, that was, I wrote that the Grandpa Gil is my favorite character. It says in my notes. Grandpa Gil was hilarious.
He was good. And then when what's his name? Wahlberg's character is like, I might be a father. And then Kevin Hart's character is like, look, she has this kid, and he's like, yes, I'm a Clooney. It's just like runs off. Yeah. Like overall. I want to hear your rating before I give mine.
Okay, that's how we'll do it.
Because I knew you wouldn't like this one.
Yeah, look, a 1 star, but I love Seal, and the whole scene with Seal deserves an extra half a star. So 1.5.
1.5.
Wasn't good. I had such a boring time. There's nothing worse than a boring movie to me. I'd rather a bad movie than a boring movie, So, 1.5.
Yeah, right.
Go on.
Because I knew you wouldn't enjoy it, but for me, I did enjoy it. Like my enjoyment levels throughout were there. Like I giggled a lot. I found it relatable, but you got to separate your enjoyment from the film and also look at it as like as a whole film. And
objectively,
it's a mess. Like it's a mess of a film. I did enjoy it. Like I was giggling the whole way through. Like it's my sort of silliness in terms of humor. Like it's a lot of dad jokes. It's relatable, but it's just a mess. The CGI is just ridiculous, and it's just two similar characters. So it was a 2 out of 5 for me. Like I wanted to give it 3, but I can't give it 3 because I cannot.
You want to give it 3? You can give it a half, 2.5.
No, because I can't justify giving it that in terms of would I recommend this to someone? No, I would recommend it to someone if they were like, do you like Kevin Hart playing Kevin Hart? Like if you've seen one Kevin Hart film, you've pretty much seen them all. Like you know what you're getting into.
Noted.
So
that's fair. That's fair. Yeah.
So that's where my rating came from.
Cool. I like.
All right. I've got a lot to say about this one.
Oh, you do? Okay.
I'm waiting for you to come out for this.
Interesting. All right. So
can I do a prediction before you introduce it? And then I want to give a prediction what I thought you would do.
What I would do. Okay.
In terms of what you think about this.
Okay. All right.
I'll introduce it.
Okay. Yeah. So we watched Jordan Peele's third movie. I actually haven't seen Us or Get Out. Just never got around to it, but now I'm sort of much more interested. But I wanted to reveal too much because I want you to give your thoughts on my thoughts. It is a sort of a science fiction, sort of a horror, sort of a comedy. It does sort of fluctuate a bit on the border of different genres, but I think as a whole, it was fantastic. The soundscape and sound was incredible in how they used. Actually, sorry. Go. Give me your prediction.
Oh, I thought you were going to be like, it was so artistic. The sound design was amazing. It was so good. It's exactly what I thought you'd say. But
was.
you go.
Please go on.
I knew
No,
exactly,
no.
and you'd be like, because you love the art house kind of film, and
It's not art house at all, though.
it is. I'll get into that anyway. But you keep going. You keep going. I knew you'd like this one. Go.
This is good.
No, because
All
you're
right.
emotional.
Yeah, look, sound. I just love how, and I'll get straight into it. And look, I guess one thing of note is that we are going to spoil stuff, and there's sort of no way of talking about this movie without spoiling it. So I'm just going to go into it. But the scenes where they didn't like one thing I love about the movie, they didn't hold your hand, they didn't over explain things, they just let things happen, and you sort of discovered it as the characters discovered it. And I think the way that they had sound to show you when the alien, the UFO, or EPA, or what the fuck they call it in the end, when that thing is near, it just goes silent, and they drop all the sound out, and it feels eerie and scary. They didn't rely on jump scares. There was like maybe two, and they didn't use any like non-diegetic vroom stupid sound. It was all within the film. The themes are great. The characters are so real and believable, and I love the chemistry between the brother and sister. And again, you talk about the relatability of your watching the dad movie. This I connected a lot with my sister in this, and that like a lot of the little things they did were like really like genuine moments. And even the moments of humor when like he locked the door when he was in the car and like this massive big monster swipes over and he just locks the door like that. Those little subtle moments of humanity I think were great and hilarious, and I loved it. I fucking loved it. They were smart. I think it was a bit of a mess with the story, and it got a little tropey at times, so it's not perfect, but I had a fantastic time. Please go, Ryman.
All right. Well, this whole movie, it's a note from me, and I've been holding that for a long time. I've been waiting for that joke. But it's so Jordan Peele is. I'm hoping he doesn't turn out to be M Night Shyamalan. Like his first film, Get Out, absolute masterpiece. Like fantastic film.
I've
and
heard.
Us, it was lackluster. It did not live up to the hype. And this is a mess of a film. I don't know what to make of this film. Like I originally tried to do a review on it when it first came out, dropped it within the first 25 minutes, and then tried again and got to like the 40-minute mark. And I was like, wow, this is hard. And then the third time, I think I started again and I was like, nah, I was pretty set. And then you picked it and I was like, all right, I've got to commit to 2 hours and 10 minutes.
You did seem a bit hesitant in chat, like trying to figure out the movie pick. I'm like, no, it's my pick. I'm going with no.
Yeah, so it is what it is. But I found the main character, which I cannot remember his name, the guy behind you at the moment.
OJ.
Yeah, I found him really hard to even like. Like he was dark and gloomy in terms of he made pretty much no facial expressions pretty much the entire film, where the sister I found really the shining light of the entire film. Like when she was around, everything was a bit more like vibrant and things seemed to be happening. Like she actually had that personality carry what was going around. And
that's
then
intentional.
Yeah.
It's intentional. They're making you feel what you're meant to feel.
No, I struggled to like the brother. He sucked. And I didn't know. I felt like there was too many characters and not enough characters at the same time in terms of they had the brother and sister, they had the Asian cowboy, and then they had the cameraman all working into one. And I was like, I don't know.
And the AV camera guy as well.
Yeah, like I didn't know how to feel in terms of any of these. There are a number of things that I did like in terms of I liked how everything you saw was at the character's perspective. Like there was no big overarching like shots where what you saw, they saw. The standout.
Grounding.
Yeah. So the standout of the monkey going absolutely nuts. Like that was by far the best scene in the entire thing. But just like overall, it was a complete mess. I know people have made comparisons to this in terms of like Signs, in terms of the suspense and the build up, but I felt like the build up and the suspense was too far in terms of building. Like for 2 hours and 10 minutes, I'm sitting there going, I haven't seen anything until like at least an hour and something, Mark. Like there was nothing. It was real dark when anything was happening, and when he was like
It was
just
dark.
when he was standing there with the horses, and then when the aliens finally, or I guess it was kind of the symbolizer of what is an alien, they look like a piece of cloth. Like I was so
Yeah.
disappointed with it. I hated
Oh,
it.
really?
Yeah, they
Oh,
sucked. Like
bro.
there was no danger to it. They just sort of flew in. I was like, you look like a design of a cloth not prey mantis. What are they? What are the stingray mantis things that are in the water? I can see your face. The manta
Like a
rays.
manta ray.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
yeah,
looked like
yeah.
a manta ray coming in. I was like, what is this thing? And then when it transformed into, it's like, I don't know, it looked like one of those origami lantern kind of things with the paper shredding. And I was like, this thing looks
Oh,
ridiculous. I
but that's
hated it.
why I love the way it looked because it was so far from what you sort of expect things to look like. It didn't even have like any recognizable um earth type shape or eyes or anything. Like it was so extraterrestrial, so different from anything on this planet that I think it was perfect. I love the way it looked. You kidding?
That sucked.
Oh, bro.
It was a piece of cloth. Like
Yeah,
they
that's
could have
what was
just
like so
no, they could
wild
have lit
about
on
it.
fire. They just shoot a fire arrow at it. It's just
We didn't
gone.
know that it looks like cloth has has to be made of like flammable material.
It might be. They didn't do it, did they? They just took pictures of
No, they didn't light it on fire. You're right.
it. Well, they,
Better better fucking shit on it because they didn't light it on fire.
well, when in
Oh,
doubt, isn't that like one of the first things people do? Try and light an
sure,
alien on fire. But like
sure.
I found the Asian cowboy, I didn't understand in terms of how he was sort of furthering the plot along in terms of like I get
Yeah,
the brother and the sister, and I get the cameraman who got far too invested in his client's life. Like I'm
yeah,
not sure
yeah.
in terms of how he's crossed the line there for like I don't know his business or what his like contract is, but like
Hmm.
it makes sense in terms of well,
I
I
want to try to
guess.
explain something to you.
All
I
right,
know
here we
this,
go.
I'm gonna sound like a mansplaining, but I I sort of had to do a bit of research because this didn't come straight to mind first either. I sort of was thinking, where's the link? Like, why do we even have that scene? And there's two things. One is about spectacle and sort of the idea of what do we sacrifice for the ultimate spectacle? Like we sacrifice the lives of people, we sacrifice the humanity of or the mistreatment of animals and whatever else, and that element's running through. And saying that's why that like ape scene is in there because it's about like the spectacle of having these animals on set and they're mistreated until one day they snap and it's now a big horrible event when it should have been almost expected. Um, and the other one is the idea of oh, straight of thought. Doesn't matter, but it does matter because I was on I was on a rant. You can skip this in the edit.
But
uh,
like I
I don't know.
knew,
I liked those bits, and that's where the film did sort of fall apart because they weren't that clear, and it was sort of there is a bit too much of the audience can read into it the way they want to read into it, which I'm not against, but I also think it's kind of it can sometimes be a lazy way of writing. It's like when we find students in school all the time that end with like a to be continued question mark or whatever because they just didn't think of an ending. Not that this didn't have an ending. I just think there were elements that weren't nicely tied together, and there's maybe too much left to the audience. Yeah, but I still loved it. I'm ready to give it a star. Do you want to talk about it anymore?
it's
It was
just there
great.
was yeah far too much symbolism in there for me. Like I want a clear sort of message to come through. Like I'm okay where it's like if they end it in terms of you come up with your own ending, like that's okay as long as it's been built that way. Where this
Uh-huh.
was just it was 2 hours and 10 minutes, and I struggled so long to like
So interesting.
even like
I was
get
glued the
attached.
whole
Nah.
time.
Get like
So interested.
no, to get attached to even any of the characters. The sister was the only person that I was like semi interested in terms of like any of her screen presence. I didn't
Yeah.
understand what the Asian cowboy was in terms of how he was furthering besides being the child star with the monkey. And I feel
That's
like
the other
you're
one.
about to.
Sorry, I just thought of that was my other point. Like when you said just then, thank you for reminding me, was that it's also he says the line horrible miracles, or like what's he saying? It's not horrible, it's like something like that, like a bad miracle, right? And all these events that led up, like the unlinked events that led up to this sort of thing, like now this guy is feeding this alien and like bad things happen, but there are good results of it, but then also there are bad results of good things happening too. Anyway, I think it was fantastic, and I had a fantastic time watching it, and I'm going to watch it again real soon. Because now that I've had all these thoughts afterwards, I want to watch it with a new frame of mind.
What would you
Loved
give it? Or do you want me to go first?
Yep, because it was my pick. You go first. Go.
Well, for me, this is Jordan Peele's worst film. So for me, it would be Get Out, Us, and then this by like a country mile. But for me, it's like it's a two out of five. Like the cinematography and the sound are really, really good. The story is just an absolute mess, and the suspense. You can't build me up for like an hour and a half to almost 2 hours and show me a cloth like manta ray coming in. It doesn't do it for me.
But it was.
Nope.
This is your rant, not mine. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I can't change my mind on that. The cloth manta ray is by far the worst alien I've ever seen.
The cinematographer, by the way, was he did like Tenet and Interstellar and like Dunkirk and shit. Like he was hired to make it an absolute spectacle.
Yeah.
And it was like some of the fucking shots, man. Like
it was a spectacle with a terrible story.
Sure. The story was the weakest part. That's that. Like to me, it's a 4.5. It's nearly perfect. It's so good.
Go watch Get Out then. See, then we'll come
yeah,
back.
I need to because I've heard that's a masterpiece. And that like normally what I've been hearing is that this sort of sits in the middle. Us wasn't great, and Get Out's amazing. So I hope this is sort of like in betweenish, but 4.5. I had a fucking great time, and I'll watch it again, and I would highly recommend if you haven't seen it already, and it would probably ruin the hell out of it. Do it. It's a ride.
It's a note from me.
Stop. It wasn't funny the first time.
It is. Gets funnier each time.
Kills me.
Episode 2, House of Dragons. We are stepping in. Can we live up to the hype of, I guess the hype. Let's go with the hype that obviously the pilot episode was. The pilot episode was really good. And in terms of episode 2, it is titled The Rogue Prince, where I find this kind of ironic in terms of where this is going to go. But I'll start with sort of an overviewing, plot of what the episode did. So obviously, what we actually do need to rectify, and I did do this in my YouTube video, is I kept calling her Queen Ray, but really she's just Air Ray. Air Ray. She was like an aerosol.
She's Air Ray.
Air Ray. She was like the new deodorant that's coming out.
Yeah.
And it's still near you. But anyway, the Air is now Princess Ray. That's better now. We actually put the middle word that separates it instead of an aerosol. But anyway, I'm digressing. She is really establishing a very nice small council for, I guess, her father in terms of adding in a number of different soldiers into the King's Guard. Yeah. And it's really seeing the king really sort of become his sort of dealing with his loss of his wife and obviously his boy heir from the previous episode. And then we also
6 months later.
Yeah, 6 months. We got a little bit of a time skip. It was kind of like a little anime time skip where I wasn't entirely sure in terms of the time frame because they were like half a year, but in terms of there's Game of Thrones run in terms of the standard year, but like
they say 6 months earlier as well.
Oh,
they do say 6 months.
I thought they said half a year. Like I was just
they also said 6 months. The first thing they said, well, not the first thing, but it was sort of in passing in conversation. But someone did definitely say 6 months since my other pass, something like that.
All right, cool. Yep. So we're 6 months in the future, and we're really focusing on our inner workings in terms of all the plots that are happening. And the king is dealing with the loss of his wife and his heir son, but then the rest of the families are going, let's see if we can increase our sort of standing in terms of where we are. Marry my daughter, take my daughter. And they
Like
were
my
just,
12
yeah, they were just absolutely throwing like whoever
children.
they had. Yeah, children, which is probably one of the most creepiest scenes I've seen in quite some time. Like they propped the girl in terms of knowing exactly what she needed to say. But like good on you, good on you, King. Like
Groomed.
you had the this nice little passage of lucidity in terms of you weren't going mad, where you were like, yeah, this is a little bit creepy. Like, who told you to say this? Like, hooray, hooray. Like, I know you want to keep your bloodlines pure, but I'm glad you didn't delve into the. So, good one, King. And, and we're presenting like that first opening shot where we're presenting to this new threat of the crab feeder. I am so intrigued in terms of who
Dude, yeah.
the crab feeder is. Like, he gets very little airtime. I would say it's probably maximum a minute and a half of like well, him actually being on screen is probably like 10 seconds in terms of just showing the face. But the crab feeder, obviously, they mention him a number of times and he's attacking a number of ships. So
He's interrupting Corliss's trade route as well, which is like significant.
Yeah. So it was just the trade route. I wasn't entirely sure in terms of because it was just showing that one opening scene out on the beach.
He's been attacking pirates on the Stepping Stone Sea, like the little islands on the way to Essos.
Yeah.
And also attacking like trade route ships and whatever else. Like he's doing what the fuck he wants.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then lots of ship. Yep. And then we've also got Damon as well, who is incredible, and he's really not happy about being passed for air, and he is working behind the scenes. Where now we get into it. Now I'm going to go throw back to my ironic line in terms of it's called the Rogue Prince, but you don't actually see him till like the 34-minute mark. And I was like, all right, cool.
He did nothing. He threatened people. The coolest thing that we heard him do all episode didn't happen on screen. He came in and he stole our dragon and he did this and this and this, and they just spoke about it. Like I would have loved to have seen that. Give us more Damon fighting.
Yeah, I think the mystery though played into that scene on the bridge. Like that scene on the bridge for me, absolutely incredible. Like one of the best scenes I've seen in a very long time. Like of cool. Him and like Damon and Otto. I love their interactions in terms of Otto and Damon are always trying to throw people each other under the bus in front of the king. And someone in my comments this morning made a really good reference, and I loved it. You're not probably going to love it, Lewis, but he made the made the reference of Damon and Otto being similar to Johnny Lawrence and Danny Russo from Cobra Kai.
Oh,
yeah. See?
I mean, I understand, but I can't connect.
Yeah, so like they're just back and forth all the time. They're like that rivalry where they hate each other, but they would sort of team up if they had to, but then go back to hating each other. Like I really liked the back and forth that they had, and it was really coming to a head on the bridge. Obviously, Damon's taken his second wife. And I like the little message that just all of a sudden randomly appears. And he was like, I'm taking my second wife that is Targaryen way. And I'm going to put a dragon egg. I'm not sure what the symbolism of a dragon egg in the baby's cot or whatever it is in terms of that symbolism. Is that like them bonding to the dragon?
It's not really explored. They say that all the Targaryens are raised with the dragon in their cot or whatever. But I don't know. Yeah, it could be a bonding thing. It could just be like a ceremonial thing. I don't know.
Yeah, so like their back and forth was incredible. I really enjoyed it. Like you could see it was building, and I really like how Damon's able to switch from that tenseness to like a little bit of comedy, where he saw the high guard bloke who he fought in the tournament, and he gave him like a one-liner, and then old mate threw the line back at him, like, and he like has that little smirk, and then he's like straight back at Otto, like throwing lines at him. Like that was so cool. And then you got the dragon.
He commands every scene he's in. It's so good.
And then they got the dragon coming over the cliff, And just when like everyone's drawing their swords, and you've just got old. I was about to say Queen again. You get
Princess
Prince,
Rhaenyra.
yeah. You get Princess come out flying, and she just. I really like how she's already established herself in terms of she's able to throw
Hmm.
out military commands in terms
Hmm.
of it's like above what everyone thinks that she should be doing, but like she obviously has that grasp and that knowledge to be able to be justified as the heir.
Yeah.
Where I guess everyone's going to make that comparison to Daenerys, where she never really commanded anything like that. She was always second guessing herself, where she's already got the self confidence to really go and do it. Where you saw that when
Mm.
she went on the bridge and was like, "You're gonna have to kill me if you want to become heir," and like the loyalty that Damon is trying to establish with himself in
Yeah.
terms of
Yeah.
how far do I go in terms of killing my own family, but I also want to improve my
Hmm.
own standing. Like I really like that internal conflict to be
Totally.
able to see that.
I also loved her scene where she's picking the suitor, or, like not the suitor, she's picking the King's Guard knight, and she's choosing from all the different knights and whatever. And she picks the one without a banner because he was, the most experienced with combat. And it keeps playing into how in the first episode she said she wants to be a knight, and like she's prioritizing combat and prowess and danger. And I really like that, and I like that people also expected to be able to control her. And even though the small council were trying to talk her into picking other suitors because it was better family choice, blah blah blah, she stuck to her guns, and they look at each other was like, oh shit. So I like that. I like that she, like you said, she's powerful. Even though she has to stand on, I love the little step stool she had to stand on to look over the balcony. Like that's such a nice little reminder that she is still a kid, as powerful as she acts. Um,
What is she, 15 or something or other in the show?
15,
Yeah.
yeah, which does only make her 3 years older than the 12-y, but that scene was such a good reveal because they didn't mention her age at all. The conversation between Corlys and whatever his wife's name is, um, Rhaenys or Rhaenys or whatever it is, and that conversation with the king, and they don't mention her age at all. And then they have the reveal of her walking side by side, and then they look at her and she's like a wee child. She's 12. Was a good little reveal, and like shit. But and I think probably one of the biggest moments was that he picked Alicent as his new queen,
Did you not see that
which is
coming though?
interesting.
I
I
feel
mean,
like
I
that
did.
they were building
I
for that
did.
for a while.
No, of course, and it wasn't like it was a surprise, but I think it's going to have one of the largest decisions, like the largest implications from like the episode's decisions. Um, but I think Otto's a little weasel. Like he reminds me more and more of like Baelish, like Littlefinger. Like I think initially he sort of you're led to believe that he's like a nice guy and he's a good person and whatever, but he's like weaseling his way into things and getting his way, and he sits with such like smug and confidence at the council chambers, and I like him. I don't like him. I think he's a weasel, but I like what they're doing with him as
Yeah,
sort of a puppet master.
he's definitely gonna be good. I feel like there's gonna be a lot of people pulling strings.
Mm.
So like even right at the end with their reveal, when what's
Yeah,
his name?
Corlys.
Corlys is talking, and like that was
Yeah.
really cool in terms of how they framed it, and then the slow pan to reveal who he was talking to, and
Hmm.
like obviously Damon, and that's where I felt like you could really see his dilemma in terms of that conflict of how far is he going to like overthrow his brother and
Mm.
like take it from I guess his niece really like how far is he willing to take that? And then obviously the cut to the grab feeder where we actually do get to see his I guess a very quick cut of his face where I feel like they were leading to it because obviously they had that sort of shot up as well where it was
Yeah.
like that crustacean-y kind of thing. It reminded me of The Last of Us, the beasts in The Last of
Yeah,
Us where they
yeah.
have the barnacles and stuff growing out of them.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I
The
feel like
clickers and
he kind
stuff.
of
Yeah,
I feel like that's what he's kind of going to look like.
yeah, I can see that. He looked pretty cool. I heard that there isn't much of a description of him in the source material, so they sort of took liberties into making him look more like a crab and stuff, which is great. Why not?
Yeah.
I think it looks badass. I like when, especially in a fantasy world with dragons and stuff, I like when it's not just human. Like there's some gray areas.
Well, yeah,
Mm,
you got dragons flying around. You got people that are riding dragons. Why not have a crab man? Like,
yeah,
oh yeah, just go nuts. Especially
I'm
in
real curious.
yeah, I wonder what they were gonna do.
Hmm. Does he like
But
command the crabs? That's what I
it,
want to know because there's crabs everywhere. Does he actually like have
it kind of
power
looked
over them?
like from that wide
Aquaman
shot.
bullshit.
I tried to Aquaman, he sucks. But I did I did pause it in terms of to try and see exactly what was happening in that scene. And it did look
Mm,
like when he was stabbing or maiming whoever that person was, like there were no crabs kind of in a vicinity of where he was. Like I'm
okay.
not sure if that was just how they rendered it or that's the perspective that the shot was, but I'm assuming he has like a invisible barrier where the crabs don't go, or the crabs are him, or he's one with the crabs. I don't
Yeah,
really
yeah.
know. He
Or
might walk.
he's like their leader and they clear a path for him, sort of thing. Like who
Yeah,
knows?
who knows? He might walk sideways like a crab. He might pinch people. I
Fuck.
don't know.
Imagine that first combat. You just see him like jump off a ship and he just like brings his hands up and he starts scuttling sideways.
He's like snap.
Right?
Gotcha. Who
I'd love it.
knows? He actually might. We don't know. Considering he's got like barnacles and stuff growing on him from what we can see.
Whatever it was,
Why
yeah.
not?
No, he's cool though. I want more of him.
For it,
Sure.
I don't know if you felt this, but this felt like kind of building to the peak Game of Thrones with everyone sort of working in the background in terms of you've got
Yeah.
like you got Otto, you feel like he's doing something. You've got Damon, he's moving and shaking. And then obviously you've got the internal conflict as well. I know it's
Hmm.
not in terms of as grand because Game of Thrones is, I guess, harder to track because you've got like for an hour episode, you're probably spending like 8 to 10 minutes with each of the characters, and then you're jumping
Yeah.
off to the other ones where this is you get longer scenes with the characters. So I guess
Yeah.
it's easier to track and you get to spend more time and see their moves rather than me going
Hmm.
like, here's my what you didn't see before or what I prepared earlier kind of moves.
And it moves at a faster pace because of that. It's like D&D when you've got 3 players taking turns versus 6 players. Like you're going to get more time. You're going to get more turns.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. I'm not sure how much I like um Corliss's wife, Ranus or whatever she is. Um, I don't know. She, in terms of like the actor, I don't know how she doesn't come across. I felt like that scene when she was sort of telling Princess sort of how things were. I know how the world works and whatever. Don't know. It felt a little left field because there's the first time I've really seen those two interact, and she was just a bitch from the get go. Whereas I don't know. I don't think she'd earned. She doesn't. They kind of to me want her to feel like Cersei at this point, maybe a little bit, and she's nothing like Cersei at all.
No,
Uh,
I feel like
so I
she'd be
guess.
harboring some like resentment and stuff though. Like all of a sudden, the
Oh,
first
of course.
first female like heir, like she would be feeling pretty resentful in terms of her
Hmm.
her state, well, position. So,
Yeah, I'm talking about like an active thing
okay.
and
I
like
feel,
and screen time. I just don't think at that point she'd earned she'd earned that heavy of a discussion with one of our main characters.
yeah,
Um,
I
yeah,
kind of felt like it suited. Like, yeah, it was left of field, but it kind of made sense. Like, I would assume there'd be
did
a number of the female counterparts, obviously unhappy that they weren't chosen in terms of
totally.
Princess Ray is in that station and they're not. So, like,
Mhm.
I kind of get it, and I guess they were like, she's reasonably high up, so we'll have that interaction. So for me, it suited. Like I didn't really go
Yeah,
into depth with it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. What would you rank it in terms of?
Um, Look, it was a building episode. It was an episode where there weren't many payoffs. They're setting up stuff for later. So, look, it's not going to be a 4 or anything crazy, but yeah, 3.5. At an
Yeah.
okay time. I'm excited for where things are going, but don't know, there was no like. To me, Game of Thrones is made up of set pieces. The Battle of the Bastards is a set piece. The Battle of Blackwater is a set piece. Like there's these big moments, and there just weren't any in this episode. But that's fine. It's not a bad thing. I just think that you know, ups and downs. It's that's what shows need to do, and this is one of the downs. That's okay. So it's a 3.
Yeah, right. I absolutely loved it. I thought this was a fantastic building episode. Obviously, we had the first episode that set the pace and the tone, and then this episode, I really felt like things were moving. Actually quite liked how Damon just went, I'm going rogue, and I really liked his portrayal in terms of where the show's going to go and the internal conflict that everything is having. I liked Queen. No, I did it again. Princess Ray. Princess Ray, she really sets up in terms of I like her boldness, I like her confidence, and
Mm-hmm.
for me, those two scenes and just the scene on Dragonstone, absolutely incredible. Otto and Damon are going to build in terms of their conflict coming at each other. I like the introduction of the crab feeder, like everything for me. I felt like this was a better episode than the first, and I felt like it was really building. I was really engaged throughout in terms of where everything was going. So it was actually better than the first episode. And the first episode was 4, so it's a 4.5 for me in terms of where this was going. It felt like everyone's moving and shaking, and I like how you actually get to spend the time and get to see where their sort of chess pieces are moving, because obviously the king is like, unless it's symbolism or I'm reading too far into it, he's sitting with his like models and his chess pieces in terms of when he
Mm-hmm.
was showing his chosen bride, like his, I guess, model of the cities. And he's just always sitting with one of the chess pieces because he
Mm.
obviously knows things are coming, where he can see a number of things are starting to move, and he's
I'm also
kind of,
very curious what they're doing with his quote unquote illnesses, like how he had that like hole in his back in episode 1, and now his finger is all like rotted because he cut it on the throne. Like he's slowly dying from infection as well. Um, I'm really curious to know, is he gonna die of that first? And well, shit's gonna hit the fan because everyone's going to be fighting over sort of titleship, I guess.
yeah, I'm pretty keen to see how that happens.
Yeah,
So
look, 3.5. I probably went a bit hard on 3 because 3 is like it's not great, but it's still a good episode. It wasn't an exciting episode. 3.5's enough. Yeah, that's all right.
yeah, I reckon
I'm
it was
okay with that.
exciting. I really liked it. It was ready to go.
Yeah, I liked it, but I wasn't excited. Like I wasn't like fucking amped up the whole episode,
Yeah,
which is what I want. Not all the time, but yeah,
all right.
yeah.
So it's built like a
And new
snail for
intro.
you. Just like nope,
Uh,
it just builds real slow like a snail.
feels
And
real
and
slow
then
like a
we've got
snail.
we've got our new character now. She'll be forever known as Aerosol Queen.
Aerosol, air rays.
Air Aerosol in
Uh,
the store near you. All right. What do we what are we picking for next week? I have picked in for Rhymer picks is 1,000 Years of Longing, which I am quite excited to see.
mhm,
I don't want to
me
really
too.
tell anyone about it because I can't do it off the top of my head. So yeah, go see it so you can enjoy our banter and what we're going to talk about. What are you picking?
And I'm gonna pick the first episode of Rings of Power, the Lord of the Rings show, just because I'm so curious what they can spend $500 million on. And if it's trash, then one episode's enough. But if it turns out we really like it, we'll put it in the rotation almost like semi-regularly. But I have really high expectations. You can't throw that level of money at something and it'd be terrible. So I guess we'll see.
I mean, you could. There's no reason you couldn't.
And
But
neither of us are massive like die-hard Lord of the Rings fans either. Like my knowledge of Lord of the Rings isn't that in depth, so I'm not going to have any super strong biased opinions on it either. Except for the fact that it costs so much is like pushing me towards it better be fucking incredible.
Was it 26 million per episode or something crazy?
I forget. I remember that it was $500 million for the first season.
That's insane.
$500 million. A 5 with 8 zeros for a TV show.
How are they going to get the money back on that? I feel like they couldn't. Surely.
Who cares?
Well,
I feel like there's a point.
I feel like Amazon would care.
Yeah, but like if they make the best show, if this is like the new Game of Thrones and it takes the world by storm the way Game of Thrones did, then it's worth every penny. Game of Thrones was able to do so much. They got the Jon Snow show coming out that they've already confirmed. Like, it's now an entire franchise. If they could do, I mean, Lord of the Rings already is a franchise, but if this is anything like Thrones and gets anywhere near the following Thrones gets, then it's worth every penny. But I'm worried it's going to be another fart in the wind, just like every other expensive show happening right now. So we'll see.
And there's also new Star Wars one coming out as well. What was that? Andor. I think that comes out Wednesday. So
it's based on characters I don't care about.
Kind of like Rogue One, where they had an amazing trailer in terms of she looked like a wicked espionage spy, and then they gave us a blank slate where it was like, make it feel like you. And just it never lived up to
I reference that movie a lot, when I'm teaching as well. Like that movie was such a train wreck. I know we're going on a massive tangent, but you want to talk about characters with zero development and not giving a shit at the end where they lived or died. That's why I'm not that excited for Andor, but I'll watch it. We'll see. Yeah.
Cool.
Anyway, that'll do it.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm a fucking whinger on here. Am I just whinging all the time about things? No, Nope was incredible. I didn't whinge once about Nope. I whinged about you whinging about Nope.
That's because it's still a Nope from me, mate. It doesn't matter how much you go on about it. No, I will not. And it's built like a snail. You built me out for an hour and 10 minutes of this incredibly slow pace, and you got wacky inflatable arm men while they're running down a hall.
Inflatable tube bands. That was so clever. Are you kidding? That was the coolest thing ever. What a great
you're running from
when the monster's around.
No. You're running from a cloth manta ray. Like, who's scared of that? Like, you just got to get an aerosol can and a lighter.
Oh,
and
we didn't discuss the best scene. You have to at least agree. The scene where they're like bunkered down inside the house and it's like raining blood because the monster's directly above them and it's like spitting out all the metal and the blood and everything that people just ate. Was that not incredible? Was that not like visceral gore goodness?
Look, I want to say no, but yes, it was pretty good. I just wanted to
want
to debate you for a little bit. But yeah,
sick scene.
That was a cool scene, and the monkey scene was really cool as well. But the rest of it sucked.
Yeah.
So you agree too?
No, those scenes were good.
No,
so I was agreeing
you agreed.
To. The rest of it sucking,
sucked.
I did not agree with.
Watch Get Out, and then we'll have a different conversation.
I will. That's on binge, I think. So I really need to watch that, and then we're going to rewatch Nope. I'm actually excited to. What time is it? I might rewatch Nope now.
Mate, how are you going to fit all that time in? We got other things to watch.
Yeah, that's good though. I love finding new movies to add to my rotation of rewatching and rewatching. I've seen Wolf of Wall Street probably 200 times by now, and it's still so great.
No, watch once, move on. I don't rewatch.
No way.
Don't replay games either. Move on.
Great things need to be enjoyed more than once.
Nah, move on. New experiences. You live once, mate.
How different we are.
That's what makes it very interesting on the podcast. I knew you'd love Lopez.
You were right.
Yeah, see? And I knew you'd hate me, Tom.
Well, yeah, you're also right. But that was to be expected. I'm very surprised you hated Nope that much. I thought you would enjoy it as much as me, but I really thought you would enjoy it more than that.
No, I can't wait till there's a brand new B grade action film out.
You're gonna make me watch it. And I'm go, Yep, sure. I disagree, but
I can't wait. Like a new Arnie or a Terminator or something that's gonna come out soon. I think there
I
is.
do enjoy me time, like those sorts of movies, for the fact that I can just zone out and I don't need to pay attention. I can go on my phone and message you at the same time. Like I don't need to concentrate on dumb stuff like that. So there's a place for it.
Oh, cool.
Anyway,
We will try and lock down a weekly release schedule in terms of when we'll actually get it out, but we are going to do a weekly release, so you can get us on Spotify. I think Amazon Music as well. I made it integrate
ooh,
onto that as well. And I am trying to work out the RSS feed into Apple podcasts as well. So look out for us there.
heck yeah.
You can also check out my reviews. Got daily movie reviews on Ryman TV on YouTube, and I am live on Twitch every Tuesday and Thursday, 7:45 Australian Central Standard Time, where you can come in, you can drop
Hang out with me in chat.
Yeah, Lawson's there in chat. He gets really frustrated, as you can tell. We've got the dad joke button. We've got all sorts of things happening. So come watch my dad jokes and above average gameplay, where you guys still call me the luckiest Souls players ever.
Mm,
I still
accurate
reckon
though.
I'm just good. I got good reflexes. I'm a
Yeah.
natural born athlete.
You are good. You are good. And there are
Yeah.
moments of brilliance, but there are also some moments of how did you survive that? You had no right surviving that.
That's just because I'm quick. I don't really know. I don't even know
All right.
what our sound off is now.
Our sound off is
Movie
thank you so
talks.
much. Get fucked. Love you. Bye.
Tell your friends.
Tell your friends. Tell them all.
Tell your friends. All of them.
Finger guns.
I
Tell all
don't
your
even know.
friends.
Subscribe and hit the bell on Spotify.
Is there a bell on Spotify?
There
Follow
is.
us on
Yeah.
Spotify. There's a follow button. You should
Is
follow
there?
us so
Yeah,
that
follow.
you get alerts when we release new episodes. Aha!
Hooray! Do that.
This has gone really long. Sorry, everybody. Love you. Bye.
Go. Tell your friends.